You're now tuned in to Hot Topics with Lady Charmaine, and I'm your host, Lady Charmaine. And as always, we got another great show for you today. So right now, I want you guys to take the time to like, comment, subscribe, and share because we got some good stuff coming your way tonight. We're going to be talking about all things relationships. So if you got a marriage question, well, we have a very special counselor here that's going to give y'all some deets, and we going in real deep tonight, y'all. So I want to introduce my panel to you guys right now in the building. We got my husband, Joe. Hey, babe.
Hello, babe.
And then we got my girl, Miss Janine. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. And then we got Marie. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
I am God's favorite.
Yes, I am.
I am too.
You see it?
And then we also want to introduce everybody to Mr. Floyd Sanders.
Hello.
I am wonderful, Mr. Sanders. I couldn't wait to have you on the show. We got a real live professional in the building.
Yeah, right.
Get some correct answers.
There you go. We got some correct stuff that's coming up in the building. And the one thing I do like about Mr. Sanders, I want to talk a little bit about you right now. I'm going to get myself up here on the screen so I could be in here with y'all.
Okay.
If I could do this right. Hold one moment. There we go. Okay. So Mr. Sanders, he's actually a licensed and family therapist. He actually does counseling, dealing with co-parenting, anger management, also domestic violence coaching, educational services. He works at PACE here in the Sacramento area. He's working on his MBA currently right now. So he's a very educated man, and he speaks on things dealing with empowering women and wives. And he also comes from the biblical scriptures to be able to help you do that. But before we get into that, so again, thank you, Mr. Sanders, for joining us on the show.
You are welcome.
Now you prefer Floyd, Mr. Sanders. What you like?
I prefer Floyd. And just to explain, I'm certified in parenting, anger management, and co-parenting. I'm not a licensed MFT or anything like that.
Okay.
I do counseling and coaching.
Counseling and coaching,
Yes.
and all that good stuff.
Yes.
Oh, okay, there we
right.
go. But right now we're going to be talking about family, right?
Yes.
And one of the families that we were all engaged in back in 1998 was the Clintons. Now this story to me is like yesterday because I was on a boat cruise celebrating my wedding. I was on my honeymoon. And I never forget, we came back to our cabin on the cruise, and the first face I see on the TV is President Bill Clinton, and he sat in front of the TV and he said, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman."
That's what he said.
Just like it was yesterday.
Yeah, just like it was yesterday. Coming in, I was like, whoa, what's really going on here? So here we are. That was 1998. Here we are 22 years later. I know because I'll be married 22 years this year. 22 years later, where he finally admitted that he did have an oral transaction
Like it was money.
with Monica. He did have an oral transaction with Monica Lewinsky. So he did admit that, but this is what he said. Now he admits to the relationship, and here's his excuse. He said he did it to ease the pressures of the job because it helped to manage his anxieties. So, ladies, I want to know, what do you think? Do you think that is a good enough reason for your husband to come home and to tell you the reason why he was in his office having an oral transaction with another woman because it was dealing with his anxieties and the stress of the job?
You know what? For my anxieties, I have a prescription. I don't need and won't go for nobody using that as an excuse. That's not it.
Marie?
I mean, we loved Bill Clinton before all that happened. We had mad love for Bill Clinton. So when that happened, folks was like, "All right, Bill. All right." Okay. But no, it's messed up because he lied at the beginning. Now here he comes talking about, yeah, I did it, but I was stressed out.
What do you think of the excuse?
No, it don't fly.
Right.
Okay.
It don't fly. Because you can go for a walk.
Right.
You can go have ice cream.
A glass of wine.
Take a
You
long
can
walk.
go skiing. You can go anywhere in the
You
world.
got options.
He can be with his wife.
How about that one?
Hello.
Okay, Joe, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, if you're gonna come clean after all these years, just be raw with it. Just say, you know what, yeah, it happened, and you know what, I should have admitted it earlier. Why put it now on something
That's too
else?
much like right.
I mean, that's the excuse anybody can use for stress. I mean, we all stressed out to a
Right.
degree,
Right.
and so does that
Yes, Lord.
does that give you license to do whatever because you stress? So I just wish. I mean, hey, 22 years late, but at least come clean with it.
Right.
Okay. All right, Floyd.
It sounds to me like he wants us to feel sorry for him. And he's not separating coping strategies from violent behavior. Cheating is just another form of domestic violence because it's
real
emotional
talk.
damage.
Wow.
And so what he's basically saying is, I'm a violent person and I make no excuse for it.
Oh, now break that down. You said so. Cheating is another form of violence. How
Yes,
so?
because it's breaking something. It's breaking trust. It's breaking another person's trust in you. It's breaking the marital bond.
Wow,
It's
yeah.
damaging, right?
That's real life.
I never
That's
looked
real
at it
talk.
like that.
So it's the kind of violence that most of us don't recognize. We think it's hitting or
violence.
yelling.
Right.
But emotional damage, emotional violence is more destructive because it leaves the wounds you can't see.
Right.
That's real talk.
Oh, you
That's
preach
real
it.
talk.
Yes.
Look at you. You better let him
facts
use you.
for real.
I never thought of it.
And that's the stuff that is harder for us to get through
Right.
to the next
right to heal.
train station, bus station, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what a lot of us battle now, those wounds.
Yep.
That's why people say, I'd rather you hit me than to do that.
Well, we don't want that either.
I mean, I'm just saying,
Like, no,
you know, but it's like,
Yes.
it's almost like,
Okay, so let's speak on this because we know that Hillary has been through some things. She has been through her husband's cheating scandals for a long time, and then
Right.
while they're in office, he had to deal with Monica Lewinsky. Now, when you deal with a woman like Hillary, because people always say she has like this really hard exterior, do you think the reason why she has the hard exterior is because of the emotional damage that has been done
Yes.
to her?
yeah.
Yes. So she's taken several wallops in her life and in her relationship with former President Bill Clinton. And the cheating stuff goes all the way back. And imagine how many uppercuts and front snap kicks she took through public media when all of his affairs went public. But she knew about all those things long before.
You say front snap kicks.
Yeah, that's serious.
kick
Yeah,
is
what
that?
kind of kick is it's serious, whatever it is.
That's a kung fu move.
It sound,
right
and it
there.
sounds quick.
That's
Right.
She took some roundhouse kicks.
Okay, no, she did. No, she really did. She really did.
But they were both kind of using each other. If I felt like, I mean, she had some serious career ambitions, and so did he. And they were like, together we can do this thing. And so there was some compromise and give and take, and they both went on that journey and stayed on that journey for years.
Yeah, this is true.
So it wasn't. I mean,
And that alone is commendable, right? To know that your husband, public figure, has cheated on you, and now you're in this relationship and you stayed there. Like, I commend her for that because I don't know a lot of people who have done that. And so, like Joe said, I think it was definitely for a reason. Like, she had some motives behind.
she
staying
wanted to be
as well.
president.
And-
That's what she wanted.
Well, that's what I was
She
going to
wanted
say.
run
You
this
know,
country, so.
he is the president. You got to keep a certain look and
Right.
all that kind of stuff going on. I don't know if
Yeah.
it was more so if she's like, "Oh, I'm going to stand by Bill." It's to me personally, I believe it's more caught up in the politics of the whole looking for us and the thing and the stuff.
I think most of us really wanted her to publicly show how she felt about it, show some
course.
emotion, show some feeling. And I think on her side, maybe she viewed that as displaying weakness and probably, maybe it would hinder her moving forward. But I think that if she had showed some emotion publicly, people would have been able to connect with her.
Right.
And if she certainly would have gotten more of the female vote
Yep.
if she had to come out
That's
and express
true.
went through the,
Right.
the 5
You're
stages of grief
right.
publicly, then the women would have rallied behind her. But right now, we just kind of see her as holding on to a lot of anger. And for men, that's very threatening when they know that the woman is carrying a lot of anger.
Right.
They won't trust that woman because they will never know when that anger is going to express itself.
Okay.
True that.
Ooh-wee.
So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about Bill Clinton. There is going to be a special dealing with Hillary Clinton coming on Hulu. I think it's tomorrow. I think it's coming on the 6th. And Bill Clinton finally admitted to the sexual relationship that he had with Monica Lewinsky. So we're talking about that and the damage that it did to Hillary Clinton, probably emotionally. Now I have to ask you a question, Floyd.
Yes.
If someone came into your office like Bill Clinton with this excuse, his marriage is now in shambles, and this is the excuse he gave, the reason why he did it was to help manage his anxieties, what would you say to that man?
I would definitely not let him take anger management. I would put him in the domestic violence class.
Ooh.
Wow.
And I would take him through a process to educate him to understand that what you're doing, what you did is violence, and what you continue to do is violence. even with that admission, that's still another form of violence because he's educated, well educated, law degrees.
Right.
He's circled with some of the most intelligent people on the
Right.
planet. So he understands enlightened ways of thinking and discourse. So he knows how to wordsmith things. But the one thing he could have said was, "I was a dog," and we all could have identified with that. And
Okay, that's a language everybody can relate to.
Exactly.
And then if he had looked over at Hillary and said, I shamed you, I emotionally beat you, I embarrassed you in front of the entire world. But that's not what he's going to say.
That would have been powerful.
Yeah.
That really would've
Sure,
been
sure
powerful.
would have. That
Yeah.
would have, and they would have won a lot of people too.
Yes, that
'Cause-
would have been powerful.
yeah,
But you said something, Floyd. Is I'm still kind of having this new definition of cheating as being violent. Is it that we don't connect that? Is it that where do we get that from? I never heard that. I'm kind of blown away right now because
Yes.
Well, the perspective means you stand in the shoes of a woman. And I was raised by women, a matriarchal household, and I grew up watching my mom and aunts experience a lot of violent behavior, cheating behavior.
Gotcha.
And as a kid, I was aware enough to see the pain that they went through. And they carried a lot of emotional black eyes, cracked ribs.
Wow.
And some of them, one or two of them had their spines shattered. So they my mom has never been able to stand on her feet. Example being, I was talking to her recently and I said, well, who's your new boyfriend in your life? And she said, I don't have a man in my life right now. I guess that's going to be you. And, I need you to step up and take care of me.
Ooh.
And so in the moment, I processed it emotionally, but intellectually, I was still grappling with what she was actually saying to me.
Right.
What she was really saying is, I don't know how to take care of myself. I never have. And I don't see you as a son. I see you as a man who supports me.
Facts. Wow.
And so that's a truth that if I were to speak that to her, it would explode into a whole other thing.
Of
Right,
course.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does that answer the
Yeah,
question?
that
Does it
does,
touch
and
on it a little bit?
it's really I think that needs to be shared and taught because a lot of times I think from a man we don't go to the emotional hurt. We go to words or we go to actions, but these are my actions, and you'll get over it. But I'm not beating you. I'm not hitting you. I'm not damaging you to that degree. I don't know if we see that, as we are cheating or not being as authentic as we should. We don't look at that as bad as laying hands on you,
Right.
choking you, cheating, hitting you. It's more so, emotional. I think maybe it's our disconnect from that, being men. So
And I wonder if men would not cheat as much, or people, right? Because you got some women who out there who cheat as well, right? And I wonder if we looked at it from that standpoint, if it would lessen the act.
Put some more control back in our lap.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel that. Like I can see that being implicated in
that's enlightening, though. It's just it really is.
Yeah.
for that to empower a woman to know that is violence, like domestic violence, does change that.
Yes.
There's an empowerment. I can
Yes, in that.
So now you cheat on me, you trying to hurt me.
You are hurting me.
Right.
You
Mhm.
are.
But
Yeah.
the connection.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's crazy.
yeah, because we know that cheating is devastating,
It is.
and
Right.
and then men don't understand it. Like, you should just get over it. It's devastating to a woman. Her world has just been
Exploded.
exploded, just shattered, and and I notice men, they don't really understand that.
Well, historically, for men, for us, the penis is a place for creating things, and it's also been a weapon of destruction. If you look at the wars historically, one of the main things that they were, even in the Bible, one of the main things they do when
I
they
ain't never
conquered
heard
a
it like
foreign
that.
nation, not only would they kill the men, but they would rape the women.
Right.
And so,
Oh man, that's deep.
so I'm just saying, here an example would be if you're meeting someone and you're going to date someone. The one thing you want to ask is, have you ever cheated on anyone? And what the person isn't disqualified because they cheated. The person can possibly be disqualified based on their response, their answer. And what you really want to hear them say is, you want to hear them own it.
Right.
And you want to hear them acknowledge on many different levels that they understand that their power and their control has to extend all the way down to how they handle their member.
All right.
So that you can see that emotional,
Biblical.
intellectual, and phallus connection. Because you have, if you're going to trust someone, you got to trust every part.
Ain't that something?
Every part.
Every part. I have to try.
I should be taking. Let me go to my notes in my phone.
We should just get on the other side of the table.
Right.
Replay this video.
Could you repeat that again, sir?
No, that is so enlightening though. I mean, men need to hear
Definitely.
this
Women need
because
to hear this.
because I never thought of my part being so destructive.
Oh, really? See, and that's the thing.
No, that's real life though. That's like a real life.
I mean, guys. I mean, I hate to say it, but guys look at it as almost sport. It's almost a game, especially growing up, and it's like notches on your belt. It's a conquest. It's how many, who, and it's talk. It's not. Oh man,
Speaking
it's
real,
not. It's
Joe.
not violent. It's more so. It's locker room talk.
Wow.
It's taken lightly, and it shouldn't be.
It
But
didn't mean
unfortunately, it
anything to me.
is.
Man.
Yeah.
I love it.
And he says, she didn't mean anything to me.
No, I just smashed on that real quick. It's nothing.
Right.
But no,
It's not
and literally, they're telling the next person how it was and how they got it, and now the woman is wondering why she getting all this attention from dudes. Well, it's because everybody know, and it shouldn't be taken that way. I mean, I'm a man with daughters. It's just now. I mean, that changed my whole world. But
Right.
growing up, when that's what you hear. And you're not getting the lessons on the birds and the bees. You're hearing it from the streets and the guys that are out there doing it. And so that's where you feel like, okay, but that's how it is.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
Well, you gave us two good nuggets tonight,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Floyd.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we got to go back and chew on that for real.
right.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Floyd, you sent my girl Shari. Hey, Shari, shout out.
Hey, Shari,
You
girl.
sent my girl Shari this quote, and I want to read it, and I want you to break this down.
Okay.
Okay. You said a queen can turn a fool into a king when she doesn't entertain his foolery or compromise her crown to spare his ego.
Okay. So what I mean by that, when I say a queen, I'm coming from a biblical perspective. I know in the world they call themselves kings and queens, but they really just stole that from the Bible.
Right.
And so a spiritual queen, or let's just call her a king, because the Bible doesn't say queen. The Bible says we are all kings and priests. So really women are kings and men are kings.
All right.
So, but for this to be consistent with the quote, I'll just flow with that. So when she knows who she is and walks in her authority and she walks in her anointing, that means she spends time in the presence of the Lord, familiarizing herself with his presence and his touch. So then when another spirit comes in, she knows it before it has an opportunity to take action.
Ooh, I root itself. Ooh, wee.
She can discern that spirit immediately.
Yes, Lord.
And so the Lord does not intend for any of his women who are queens to abide a fool. The scripture tells us to resist the devil and he'll flee. So sometimes God-breathed, God-filled women who walk in their anointing and authority before they found themselves, they married devils, demons. And so
Speak plainly.
so I'm not cutting any corners on what I'm saying.
Just say it.
They basically have been laying down with Satan for years and decades. But once they wake up, of course, the drive is to reclaim all territory. So you want your husband to come into his place of authority, right? But, if he's been dragging his heels and walking in his foolery for a while, then what you do is you lay down your boundaries. And if that means you close up shop until he can behave correctly.
Shut that whole building down.
Just out of business, huh?
Just the whole park.
and-
Just
and-
closed.
And then go back to the beginning. Go back to the dating
Just
phase.
out of
You can
business.
option to go back to the dating phase at any point in your marriage. We're going to date again for a while. And I need you to step up and show me that you respect me. So it's not that you are depriving him, because that's what some people are going to say. I said, it's not depriving him. It's showing respect to yourself and all your parts. Because all those
The parts
Yes,
part.
all those members.
It's killing
Let me say it this way: every member of a woman's body is anointed
All right now.
from the top all the way down.
From the rooter to the tutor.
Oh,
And,
you know what?
and for a godly man, every part of his body is anointed.
All right.
So I'm not going to elaborate on that, but you figure out what that means. It's supposed to be fulfilling on every level.
Right.
All
So
right.
you can.
Look out.
You can turn a fool into a king. If you
I'm kind of stuck on the shop being closed. I'm like,
Oh, that's why you're looking at me like that?
No, no.
You sit up there looking at me like,
No electricity to the building, smud,
I'm just, close for renovation. I'm like,
renovation.
no clothes until you
Till
get
further
yourself
notice.
together.
Till further notice.
It's all shut down.
Yeah. Till further notice has no date on it. Yeah.
possess
I
all
got
your
kind of
members.
stuck right there.
All your members. Now, you also
Lord
said
Jesus.
that men don't cheat on women who walks in their God-given power. What
No.
did you mean by that?
A man doesn't,
Oh,
but a boy will.
oh yeah, break that down.
The Bible actually distinguishes between, in that Ephesians 5, it talks about the difference between the types of men. And so here's the one type of man, a man who loves a woman as Christ loved the church, right? So a man who loves a woman as Christ loves the church is obviously someone who is, as the traditional approach says, is a leader, takes charge, seeks the Lord. That's the traditional interpretation, but it leaves out one significant piece. That's the most important part. As Christ loved, well, Christ died for the church. He sacrificed. He made himself a living sacrifice. So a real man of God daily makes himself a sacrifice for his wife and his family. And sacrifice means, it doesn't mean that you sacrifice your dreams and your goals. You sacrifice your ego and your personal ambitions for the betterment of your wife and your family. And in so doing, you do reach and achieve your goals, because your wife, when she recognizes that you have submitted yourself to her, she will then be your covering. And that is really what a woman is from the beginning to now.
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to hold on while you're driving.
He didn't win. He didn't win deep.
This is.
I can pull it back if
No, you good.
No, that was good.
Good.
Please don't.
I'm used to a fast car, but it's just confirming things for me. I'm just kind of holding on.
When you speak the truth, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
See, all women know the truth. But I was when I was coming to the show, I was thinking, man, I don't want to go too far into this, because it sounds like you're trying to start a war. But you know what Jesus said? He didn't say I came to bring peace. He said I come to bring a sword. And so for the last several hundred years, what has happened for women in the body of Christ is that they have been oppressed, suppressed, and denied. Because men in the church intentionally put women under, right? And it's not an accident. It's on purpose, so that they can hold the reins of authority. Everyone and anyone who really reads the Bible understands that God is no respecter of persons. Whoever is available and willing and obedient, that person is in whom the Spirit of God dwells. And so if you go back to the beginning, here's something that most people think that the woman in the garden, that the one that we all blame for the fall, was named Eve, and that wasn't who that was. Her name was Adam.
Okay.
He said, I made you male and female, and I call you both Adam. Her name is Adam. And so his name is Adam. And so when God called Adam, they both look up, because he's talking to both of them.
I heard somebody else preach, a female preach the same thing.
Right? She was bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh. She was made and formed from his bone, and Adam was made from dirt. And so she is a higher. So I'm just saying the woman is a higher form of being. She is a more refined being.
Hold on,
She is
wait.
not made with base matter. And when it calls her the woman, what the Hebrew writers really tried to do was malign her by calling her the Hebrew word that they use means both adulteress and wife. So what they were really trying to, it goes really deep.
Yes.
But the most important thing to understand is that the woman's name means fire and fire offering and sacred offering. So when God brought the woman, it was an offering to Adam. So when the Lord makes an offering, it's going to be what? His best. Remember? He only accepts what's excellent. So he brought the best.
Yes, he did.
And so she
All right, now.
she is the covering. Women are the covering, not just in the Christian marriage, but women are the planetary cover. And so when the enemy came, he exploded the cover.
He knew who to
He
get.
ripped the covering, not only from Adam but from the planet, and so remember, Adam was standing right there beside.
Yep.
So he stood by in agreement and watched and allowed it to happen. And here's the real deep rub, the part that every woman should really wake up and understand. When the judgments were being handed down, and that's how we look at it, but that's not what was really going down. When the Lord was simply saying, you're going to bear children, there's going to be all this pain and all this, he wasn't judging or cursing. He was just simply spelling out the consequences of that action. And one of those, when I talked about that blood stuff, one of those is in the DNA of women is triggered an automatic response to yield her destiny over to a man. Because he said, your desire shall be to your
husband,
and he shall
rule.
Now that's the fall. And so we call it a curse, but for women it is a curse. She got cussed out twice.
Oh wow!
But it's the repercussion.
And it is the repercussion of Adam's choice. Remember, they both were Adam, so they both made that choice together. So in the DNA of woman, birth is not always seen as a happy occasion.
Right.
Right.
It's characterized by pain and anguish. And if you look throughout history, women have been the most vulnerable. Women and children are the most vulnerable parts of our civilization.
Right.
Yep.
They are often abused. Often, it's when you really think about it, that curse or that judgment bears itself out all throughout history.
Okay.
And so, what I really want to get to is this: godly women have to shake that curse off. You have to apply the blood of Jesus to break it. And if you don't address it, it doesn't get addressed. Or anything that's a wound in us, we consciously have to take it to the cross.
Okay.
And so it's important. When you realize it and you see it that, okay, when my husband wants to do this, I automatically feel this inner compulsion to yield. I don't understand why. When I'm growing up and I think I want to be a doctor or a lawyer, but at the same time I want to be a mom and a mother. That compulsion to want to be a mom and a mother is a part of the fall. When he made them both, he gave them both assignments was to rule, to have dominion, to carve out your realm of authority.
So question with just that part right there. So if both are called to rule, I mean, is there like, are you saying to be a mom and a mother is a lower form of service?
Okay, so that is the right question to ask, because when you think about it, underneath that question is this idea that when children come, the responsibility falls to someone. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So if a woman decides to bring forth children, if the man and the woman decide, the birth and the caretaking are two separate things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
So she's not relegated to being solely a mother and then having to pick up her career. Isn't that right? Right? Because he can get up at 3 o'clock in the morning too.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Yes.
Who is that?
And if men generally did get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to participate in the feeding, women's bodies would heal much faster.
Ooh.
Because they'd be able to get
You
more
know
rest.
what? Oh, hold on.
Ooh, shot, ta, ta, eat a bowl.
Yeah, I need
Eat a bowl of gumbo. Yes. Yes. Yes.
so
Get a
to be
shondo
specific-
taco.
I'm
Yes.
having an interesting.
It's not a lower form.
Right.
Being a parent is not a lower form, but it's not why you're here.
Right.
You're here to advance God's kingdom on this earth and to bring into the world godly offspring. And so a lot of the offspring that are brought into the world are not born within the realm of God's spirit.
So when you said that, because see, now you're getting deep. People probably watching and like, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. What church
Okay.
service they just tuned into? Wait, I thought this was hot topics.
Okay.
We into
Somebody
psychology.
trying to say my
What's
children
going on?
were born. So when you said that, I know you're getting really deep in that.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that?
So some of these things are really hard to say because a lot of people aren't ready to hear it. And some are difficult to understand because you have to chew on it a while. I didn't just happen on the understanding. It just popped. It just opened up to me. So what I mean by this, women have an awesome ability to bring more refined children into this realm by being more selective of the mate. And so when I say women are the covering for the planet, what the enemy did was to steal women away from God's plan so that he could insert into this realm his seed. And so when you see a man and you meet a man, you're looking for someone he doesn't have to have fine teeth and broad shoulders and stature and money. What you really want to look for is character. Character, self-discipline, control, because those things are passed down in the DNA
as well.
Yep.
Or lack of.
And the lack of as well. And so when you bring children in and they're unruly and hard to deal with, a lot of those things are,
I got lights going out on over here, it's popping up.
But you know what?
That's deep.
That is so basic in nature,
Yep.
in the animal kingdom, and in other reproduction that we miss it as humans.
Yes,
we
have.
The nature hand selects and mates off the strongest,
Yep.
the top.
The best.
well, let's
Yes.
be more specific. The female species in nature is highly selective.
Right.
Yeah.
Joe, tell them about that. What you were watching when you was watching one of those Animal Kingdom shows a couple weeks ago.
Oh wow!
Do you remember?
You know what? Man, I wish I can remember all the detail, but I know it was something about, I think it was like groundhogs or something, but there was a sound going forth and the female was going to the sound that was strongest. And she came across a few that was weak and ended up leaving them, but she went into the hole of the male that had the strong sound that she was looking for out of all those that were making sounds. She found the one that had the strong, and then went down with him, while the other ones, they lost out.
Yeah.
But it was just the selection, even lions and monkeys and all fish. Everybody, they want the dominant male, they want the strong male to mate with to promote the species.
I want to redo.
She want to start over. Can I start over?
Just say.
Getting back to Bill Clinton.
Can I start my life over, Lord?
and the same thing, the weak, the sick, the lame get left behind and eaten when dinner time comes. When the hunt is on, those are the animals that end up falling off and getting ate up.
Yep.
Saying getting ate up. Okay, quite interesting.
Interesting.
So so I have another question for you. Can a woman really change a man?
On what side? Secular or spiritual? Or just in general?
In general, can a woman really change a man?
The answer to that question is yes. Women have a great power. Women can change entire civilizations. A woman can change a man.
How so?
At what cost? I mean, that's a lot of work.
That is.
Well, there is work, but then there is work. So let's say you have a mate and you've become enlightened and aware and you know who you are in God, but your mate isn't. Again, it goes back to how you manage your members and your resources and how clear you are about your expectations. So if he wants to stay with you because he knows that you are the cream of the crop, the top of the list, the best of the best, and then you have high standards, then he will change. He will.
And if he doesn't,
Then
what does that mean?
Then he's
Like,
not a man.
the boy part comes
Yeah,
into play.
because when a man knows when he's got the best, And there are a lot of women out there that are the best, but they're not the best for every man.
Right.
True.
So it's a pairing. It's a really, when two people come together, it's for a lot of reasons, but behind the scenes, it's a highly spiritual thing. Even at the lower level to the higher level. But when two higher level people come together, when I say higher level being, I'm not talking about the occult New Age. I'm talking about filled with the Spirit of God and moving in the power of God. That is a higher level being.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the true higher level being.
Yeah.
And so when those two people meet each other, they know.
So let me ask you a question, because you have some women out there, they're beautiful, they're gorgeous,
Yes,
and they have it going on,
yes.
all of that. For some reason, they have a man that just continues to cheat. Is it because she does not have what it is that he's looking for to keep him straight
Well,
and
okay, he's not
dedicated
hers.
to her? Right. Okay, he's not her.
He's not hers.
He's not hers.
Because he'll change for the right woman.
You all
I
know
never
that.
thought a woman could change a man. I just know that we're very influential, and our influence is strong. But I just thought we could influence a man to change. But my mama used to say, "You are who you are, and you can't be changed." So I
That's a
never
good point.
thought that we can change a man. I thought that we can influence them to be better or do better.
So check this out. I just saw a clip. This is so funny, of Steve Harvey. A young lady addressed him with his Think Like a Man book, and she said, "Steve, your book is cool, but the way people floating around these days, I don't know if it's irrelevant, if it's relevant
apply.
anymore. It
Right.
doesn't apply." And then he proceeds to talk about her about, yes, it really still does. And then he talked about writing another book about, he had went into how a woman can change a man. He said, let me tell you, he said trainable. Those were the words he chose. But it goes along with what you're saying. He said, because he used an example, his wife expects him to open her car door every time they get in the car. So when he walks around and gets to his side of the car and he to open the door, she stands there. She won't move because her expectation of what he supposed to do. He says, she has trained me to make sure that's what I automatically do when my wife is getting in the car. So it's like
Having certain expectations.
Yep.
And I do believe a man will rise to the expectation
You have to believe that.
you have. What would you about to say, Joe?
How you know I was about to say something?
Because you took a
Because
deep
it's
breath.
it's your wife.
No, you, maybe.
I mean, sometimes I think that there's a point in that, but if a man is not willing, then a woman needs to know when he's not able to be changed.
Right.
Because you're going to try, but if he's just going to be a dog, or he's just not ready to get married like you want, or we have the relationship that you want, and you're just trying to do everything within your power to make this thing happen mentally, if he's not there mentally, it's just I see it as a wasted effort on the woman's behalf. He's going to lose out, but I see her getting frustrated and wasting her time if she's thinking that I can do it, I can change him, because he's going to be this man. Because if he's not ready, he's not ready.
And it's just like what Floyd said. He's not yours. It's, you know what I'm saying? I think that's the point that you had made earlier.
But there's so many women that won't give up on that man.
True.
But
And they'll stay with that man.
A woman with a brokenness will do that. She can't do what she don't know.
So some of those, that's like a common sense observation. It just makes sense, and when you look at it, you think that, well, at a certain point, he's not changing, so I got to cut my losses.
And women don't.
Somewhere.
A lot of women don't.
But
Do they have to? But they have to first perceive it as, I'm gonna cut my loss, because if she's
That's
broken, like Marie
right.
said,
so everything I'm saying is qualified and bordered around this idea. She is God breathed, God filled, and she
Whole.
knows who she is.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm saying she's whole. She
Yeah.
has her male and female inside her in harmony and in balance. So when she's like that, and when she has to deal with a situation where he appears to not be willing to change, you have to realize there's work and then there's work.
She
You
navigates
either working
differently.
it or God is working it. And so if you have put the matter to God and said, Lord, this is the man I've chosen, then the Lord may say, this is not the one I've chosen. And so, but
Real life.
but if if you know that it's just the enemy that's got a grip on him, then the enemy is not greater than God.
That's
But
right,
are you
that's
willing?
right.
Are you willing to do what it takes? In other words, you're not fighting with your weapons. You're fighting with spiritual weapons.
Come on, man.
And so
Come on,
you
man.
walk in. You are dutiful about your kingdom. You have boundaries. Let's say he you'd like him to be at home at a certain time, and he comes wandering in at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't know where he's been. Change the locks.
Why not, right?
He straight said,
Tape the door
change.
closed.
He said that
Right.
quick too.
Uh-huh.
He said-
I
And
thought,
then-
I thought there was gonna be some negotiation.
No.
He said
The
change
lock.
the locks.
No, because
What
he knows
negotiation?
that's disrespectful. So you change the locks.
Now you got to ask to come up on in here.
No,
So-
you don't. You don't get up. You go back to you stay in the bed and you wake up at the right time. And if he's out there sleeping on the front porch, then that's his issue. But I bet
There
you
it
the
is.
next time he'll be aware.
Right.
Right.
But should the woman have to go and take those drastic measures to get a man to change?
Well, if this is the one that you have
Is she
decided
trying
on,
to stay? Yeah.
Oh, it's, okay, you said it. If that's the one you have
you've
decided
got
on.
children with this person, and you want your family whole, and this is what you said that you have declared, then locking a door, putting a lock on the door or a gate on the door is not drastic. I mean, it's for safety purposes. You don't know who's out there knocking on that door at 2 or 3
You know
o'clock in the
what?
morning.
Okay.
You see, you just
Your
took a left
husband-
on that one.
your husband is
it's
not
for
there.
safety.
Your husband
Strangers.
ain't there,
Baby,
and you gotta
I love
protect
you,
yourself.
but
Yeah.
you don't be
But
changing no
you
locks
ain't
on
here
no
to
And
door.
protect me.
why is your phone on at 2 and 3 in the morning? You know, you in the bed asleep. So if he's not there, you don't know who it is, and you better not go check and see.
That's
Right.
dangerous.
It's
Right.
dangerous.
Oh my God, you go try to cause some
Okay.
divorces
Okay.
around here.
And then so you wait. Oh my God, baby, you out there? Oh, come on in here. Let me give you some breakfast and minister to your suffering.
Suffering. That's a good one because you suffered.
See,
Oh,
see.
Suffered.
I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know what? He suffered mentally and physically because you know what was going to happen.
I'm
when
ringing
he
the
came?
buzzer to get off on this stop. Right here.
You getting off the bus?
My stop
You
is
getting off
coming
the
up.
bus?
You get off.
Yeah, I gotta
Your
get
light
off on
rail
this.
stop has come.
This is where you get
This is where
off.
I get off on.
He's making his way downtown, walking fast.
Okay, because you are a counselor, I want to get this question out real quick before we go. And you are a black counselor. And knowing the background of the black family and how we all grew up and our experiences, especially when it comes to what we call whoopings and other nationalities, they call them spankings. Now, do you agree with spankings or whoopings?
I'm going to say the state of California says that corporal punishment is not illegal. But most of us have no idea what real corporal punishment is, so you shouldn't spank. You don't have to spank children. There is no need to spank them. If you start really early with good boundaries and a strong routine and all those important things, then those later behaviors that you're dealing with, like tantruming and going off and, that stuff doesn't happen. And the second thing is you have to look at age and stage. From 0 to 5, they're going to do all kinds of things, and it's not inappropriate. It's exploratory behavior. This is how they investigate the world and figure things out. Like one of the things I like to talk about is the light socket. And a lot of people have problems with kids like trying to feed light sockets. And if you ever look at a light socket, it looks like 2 eyes and a mouth and it's smiling.
Right.
And so to a kid, what they see is a face, and they're trying to put a spoon in there. So you go and smack their hand. Now what you just told them is that hitting is okay. Now later on, you're going to be hitting them for hitting. And then you say, don't hit your friends. And then you hit them. And so now you're not my friend and you don't like me. So we shouldn't ever hit. What we should allow children to do is learn from their choices. And those are called natural and logical consequences. And those are the most effective forms of teaching personal responsibility and good decision making.
So how would you,
He just
if you seen them
schooled
trying to
us.
put a spoon in the light socket? My girlfriend, she bit electrical cord and it
Yeah.
burnt her mouth. So you would say, don't do that.
No,
What would you say?
I wouldn't say anything because mine would be covered and blocked.
Oh, okay, got you.
Gotcha.
So you ahead of the game.
Right.
You
okay.
got to be ahead of them, and knowing. So you always
Preventive.
child-proof an environment. Your home for the first 5 years is not your home; it's your child's home. You brought them in, now let them play. Anything that you think is important is going to break. They're going to get cut on or climb on. Move it out. And just open up the whole space for them to have freedom. Because that kid, when they go to school, they're going to be excelling at everything because they have no fear.
I love it.
You know, it's funny we talking about this because another aspect is it used to drive me nuts as a young mother with a lot of the young black women that I would be around with their children, spanking a child into potty training.
Oh, yeah.
And I never understood that. So to spank, if that didn't make sense to me. No, like now you got.
How do you spank a child on his potty?
Well,
training?
I knew a lot of women. If you peed on yourself, you would get or snatched up or talked real bad to because you done pottied on yourself. And I would always tell these ladies, okay, check it out. Number one, pay attention. You're raising a child. Number two, you just gave him water. So, you know, maybe an hour or so later, he gonna need to go. Be ahead of the game. Why are you spanking this child? He only been here a year. He don't know what to do. You do. So you gonna beat him for what you think he should know when he don't know? He just ate a meal. So in a couple hours, he gonna have to go to the bathroom. Every morning, I would get my son up and sit him on the toilet whether he went or not. You know what I'm saying? Because I just didn't understand that kind. I refused to be that person. And my kids were potty trained early because I was on it.
Now, what do you think about those parents like Candy Burris? She started potty training her son very early. I think he was like, what, a month or two?
He was little.
Yeah, I'm like a month or two over the toilet. So I guess he's never. And then we knew a guy, Malik. That's how his wife also potty trained. They never had to buy diapers or anything because they feed the baby right after the baby eats, put the baby on the potty when they wake up. So I'm talking about very early, like 2 months, they started putting them over the toilet. What do you think about something like that?
I think that Candy Burris has to do that because she doesn't have time to go through the natural process of allowing her child to potty train.
Why? Why you say that?
When you got money, I can hire a nanny.
Well, right there is the answer to that question. Right. Maybe she doesn't want a nanny. And so she has to move things faster so that she can be more independent.
That makes sense. That makes
interesting.
sense.
That was definitely a good
That
point.
makes sense.
Thank you so
I
much.
know a mom who started potty training her daughter at 6 months, and by the time the little girl was a year, she was fully potty trained. Meaning she could sit up by herself. She sat around the pot, and by the time she was a year, she was fully potty trained.
Oh, wow, that's great.
An easy way to do it, though, is if you're trying to potty train, just get another kid that's already potty trained. And your child will watch that other kid going to the bathroom to sit down. And children mimic what other children do. So a lot of people just they got all these books out there, and the easiest thing to do is get a kid that's a little bit older and let them play together. And everything that bigger kid does, the little kid is going to mimic.
Agreed.
And so you don't have to get stressed out with potty training.
Interesting.
They'll figure it out.
Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the show today. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Floyd, for sharing. You shared some really deep nuggets today.
Awesome.
So if people want to find you, where can they go, starting with Joe?
Oh, I'll be here next week.
Janine.
Facebook, Miss JMC Sue.
All right, Marie.
Okay, Marie. Riri loves you on Instagram and Clap It Up Movement on Facebook, and Beautiful Bearded Women because people are starting to hit that page. So that as well.
Okay.
And if you're looking for parenting, anger management, co-parenting visitation, you can go to pacefamilyservices.com. And I also have a YouTube page, Be Still and Know That I Am One God.
All right now. Well, I think that'll do it for me. Well, I think that'll do it for me. And if you guys want to follow me on social media, you can actually find me at I Am Lady Charmaine on Instagram and on YouTube at Lady Charmaine TV, and on Facebook, you can go to the Lady Charmaine Live Show. Now, I have a Lady Charmaine Live page, but for somehow it got hacked, so I'm not able to get into it. So I had to create a new one, which is called Lady Charmaine Live Show. Also, we got Hot Topics, Real Talk No Chaser on Facebook, and you can also join my wonderful group. Thank you, sisters, for watching. It's called Black Sisters Making Friends, right there on Facebook. Thank you, sisters, for all the ladies who have joined the group thus far. I really appreciate you all. And be sure, tomorrow I'll be interviewing Mr. Christopher Williams. So we're going to be talking about his TV One Unsung episode, The Story of Christopher Williams. So you don't want to miss that. So that's going to be tomorrow. And then next week, I'm going to be talking to Mr. Kareem Grimes. You may know him as Preach on All American. He's going to be on the Lady Charmaine Live Show next week. And also Sky. They're going to be here talking about their TV One Unsung episode, which is going to be airing next Sunday. So we got some great artists coming on the show. So you guys be sure to tune in. And that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.